Okay, so this video we will finish the center. I have a few stitches left. I stuffed it with some scrap yarn. So now to finish it, go through both sides like that. And your flower center color should be away from you. It's just one single crochet in each stitch. One more. There we go. Should look like that. Now we're going to go on to attaching the petals. So bring all 10 of your petals around. It doesn't matter which side you want to use, it only matters that you're consistent. So that means the petals are reversible, like which side you want shown on the outside of the bag. Just make sure that you're consistent so that the tip of the bag here, you want, like if this is the side I'm going to use, all of this yarn tail needs to be on the same side, because that'll help when we're sewing the petals together so that your items don't fall out of your bag. So you wouldn't want to do this one this way and then the next one this way where the tail's coming off the right side. Whichever side you pick, make sure that tail is coming off the same side consistently. So to attach the petals, there's basically 2 layers of petals. So for the first layer, we're going to go through the back loop only and our petal, and make sure you count 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches along there. That's how many you're going to crochet to the center. Oops, where's my tail? So this first one's a little bit awkward because you have to make sure you get this tail, your working yarn tail, back here before you start going through. So the back loop only, and then both loops on your petal. I got a lot of yarn tails here. Let me get cleaned up. There we go. Go over there. All right. So do that for 6 stitches, just single crochet like normal. Back loop, full, both loops on the petal. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are, like, the corner stitches of your petals look like they may belong on the part that's sewed to the, or crocheted to the center, but they don't. Just make sure that you count 6 stitches and don't do more than 6 stitches along the base of the flower petal. So now we're ready for another flower petal. And as you can see, this one, the yarn tail at the tip of the flower where the holes are is coming off the left side. So you want to make sure you do that again for your next petal. So I'll get the next petal and make sure it's going off the left side. And then just go right into the very next stitch. Back loop only the bottom 6 stitches of the next petal. So there's 1, 2, 3.
Mommy.
Hold on, bud. 4.
When you're done, can you make me some more?
Sure, I'll make you some muffins. God, my kids have discovered where I am. Okay, there's 6 stitches there. So just continue along with that. Make sure that the petals are facing the same way, and I'll meet you back here after we have done 5 petals on this layer, and I'll show you how to do the second layer of petals. Okay, now I'm on to the 5th and last petal of this layer. So I have it set up with 6 stitches left. Remember, you should be going through the back loop only of the centerpiece and through both loops on each petal. There's 4, 5, and 6. So you finished 5 petals along the center. Looks kind of like this. There's a little bit of a lip from where our stitches are, but that kind of acts as the base of the purse, so it works out. So now this next stitch should be your full stitch made from beginning this. There's the front loop, there's the top of the stitch. You're going to slip stitch into there to finish this layer of petals. Cut your yarn, leave enough tail to secure later. Now you can see the petals, there's big gaps in between each petal, and that's because we're going to do another layer with the 5 other petals. So we want them to be staggered in these little gaps. So you're going to count over from the last stitch you made, you'll count over 3 stitches, and that's where you'll start on these front loops. So there's the first one, second one, third one, and that is where I will cast on. I like to make a slip knot, put it on the hook. That's where you'll get ready. You'll cast on there. Now the next 6 stitches should be right in the center of this little gap. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the next 6 stitches you're working with. 1, 2, 3. Count to 3 and make sure it's in the center, the gap between those 2 petals. 1, 2, 3. So this is where I'll go in first. That front loop, grab another petal. Again, make sure you're consistent with what direction that yarn tail is going off of. So I was going off of the left. Make sure it's still going off of the left. This is the tip of the flower with the 2 holes. I got other yarn fuzzies on here. And again, you'll go through 6 stitches at the bottom of this petal. Both loops on the petal. For 1. Oh, made my knot too tight. 1. Front loop again. 2. 3. 4. 5. And 6. And then I usually just pause here before I keep going to make sure that it lines up in the gap of the first layer, which it does. It's nice in the center, so then whenever we go to close the bag, it'll be layered evenly like that. So now you know you can keep going with 6 stitches on the base of each petal. Again, make sure my petal is facing the same way. Yarn tail going out to the left. Front loop only. Both loops on the petal. Single crochet times 6. I will continue around to the last petal to show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm to the last petal now. 6 stitches left, 1 petal left. Continuing on, going through the front loop that's left over, and both loops of the base of the petal. Three, 5, last one, 6. And now same thing we did with the first layer. You find the first stitch you made or where you fastened on at and slip stitch into there. Cut your yarn. And now everything's attached. And obviously, if we left it like this and just trimmed the ends, it would just flop open and all your belongings would fall out. So now the next step is to sew the petals together. To do that, you want the centerpiece, the color different centerpiece facing up, because it's going to close around your belongings like this, and if it'll leave a nice textured effect on the outside if we sew the inside, because there'll be little flaps of showing of the petals, which makes it look nice when it's closed. So all of these, if you wove them in when you single crocheted the border of your petal, you can snip those off, or you can hide them inside the center. Since there's stuffing in there, it's easy to hide them in there. So to crochet the bag so it's actually functional, you find each of these long ends that's at the tip of your flower petals, and whatever side it's on, because it doesn't matter which one you did as long as you're consistent with it, you kind of lay your petals out so they're evenly overlapping all the way around. And you're first going to need to get this yarn tail to about here where they overlap, which is where we stopped the rows of 10. So this is where the last row of 10 was. That's where they will overlap around each other. So to do that, you just kind of gently weave in and out whatever side you're on. So if you're on this side, you'll go this way. If your tail's on this side, you'll go that way. And you just gently weave in and out a few times. Don't pull this tight, obviously, or it'll misshapen your petal. But with this plush yarn, it'll just hide right in these stitches if you go in and out, in and out, in and out. Maybe one more to get there, to about here. Now we're going to sew in and out through both of the petals along this border. So just go one stitch at a time, in and out, and just kind of lay the petals. You can pin them if you'd rather, if you don't like them moving around. You just kind of pin or hold the petals, go through both sides. And after the first few, you'll get faster at it. Then make sure you go through the next stitch available following the border of the petal you started on. After a few stitches, I'll show you the back, and I'll show you that it is hidden in the plush yarn of stitches. Here you can't even see it. Just make sure you don't pull it too tight. Like if you pull it too tight, obviously it'll cinch up all of this and misshapen it. You want it to be able to lay flat right now in this stage. Following the border of this I keep saying leaf, petals. If you jumped and did more than one stitch gap at a time, then you would be able to see your sewing piece of yarn. So just go one stitch at a time, and then it'll blend in with your stitches that are already there. And then once you make it to your flower's center, you can knot it somewhere in here. Again, this is the inside of the bag. And there's like a nice little ledge from front loop and back loop stitches that aids in hiding little knots and everything. And then you can secure it inside of your plush center like that. Cut off the excess, and then you're done with that side or that portion of the bag. I always save these. You can use them to stuff the next one you make. Great for stuffings. So you can see how now that petal of the bag is secured, so that whenever we have the drawstring in there and it's held up like this, you have this nice pretty little texture that shows the petals on the outside of the bag, but it's also still, it's not a hole in your bag. So that's why I like to sew from the inside overlap. And so then you'll do it again over here. This yarn tail, you will go along this overlap. So you'll follow to here, and then you'll sew along this edge. And then whenever that is sewn, you'll have this nice little flap here to add texture to the outside of the bag. And then you'll keep on rotating around your flower, always going to the side that the tail is on. So all of my tails are over here on this side, and you always go this way and then follow that border that you can see all the way around your bag.